Hi, I'm Meijin Chia, a high school teacher using OpenSciEd and an OpenSciEd facilitator. In this video, I will give an overview of Lesson 9 and wrap up with some tips and tricks. Lesson 9 provides many opportunities for students to analyze and interpret data. In particular, students are introduced to force versus time graphs and use the features of the graphs to understand how safety features work. Let's briefly recap on how we got to Lesson 9. In Lesson 8, we figure out that the change in velocity of the crash test dummy with safety features happens over a much longer time compared to the crash test dummy without safety features. We wonder exactly how safety features work to bring about these different durations of time. Here's a look at this lesson at a high level. Lesson 9 takes two 45-minute days. There are multiple student handouts in this lesson as listed in the teacher edition. Students will need to use their own devices to access a simulation on day 2 of the lesson. There are 3 lesson chunks in this lesson. Let's see what's happening in each lesson chunk. In the first lesson chunk, through a reading, students identify the important criterion for safety in a collision, which is the peak force on the head, chest, and neck of a vehicle occupant. They then analyze force versus time graph to understand how safety features alter the force acting on a vehicle occupant during a collision. They figure out that seatbelts and airbags reduce the peak force on the body, which lowers the deformation on that part of the body and thus injury to the person. In the second lesson chunk, students use a simulation to determine the seatbelt stiffness and airbag rigidity for the greatest likelihood of survival. They figure out that as long as the crash test dummy does not hit the steering wheel, a lower seatbelt stiffness and a lower airbag rigidity increases the likelihood of survival. In the third lesson chunk, which is also on day 2, students analyze force time graphs when the safety features remain the same, but the initial velocity of the car is higher. They found that when delta V is higher, the peak force acting on the person is higher, which causes the likelihood of survival to go down. So in this lesson, we determined that seatbelt stiffness and airbag rigidity are optimized to decrease the magnitude of forces acting on the vehicle occupant in order to reduce injuries and increase the likelihood of survival. When there's less force acting on the vehicle occupant, they will take a longer time to come to a complete stop. We also rearranged Newton's second law from lesson 6 and showed that the impulse acting on an object, which is net force times delta t, is equal to the object's change in momentum, which is m times delta v. Let's take a look at the key moments in lesson 9. From the reading in part 2 of this lesson, students connect acceleration with net force, deformation, and injury. When a particular part of the body experiences a high net force, blunt impact injury may occur because the tissue has deformed past its recoverable elastic limit. This relationship between net force and deformation was explored previously in P.2, DFR unit. In part 5 of the lesson, we analyze and interpret the force versus time graph when a seatbelt and airbag acts on a crash test dummy. A seatbelt applies a non-constant force. As it extends, the seatbelt will apply a greater magnitude of force on the dummy. When the dummy is in contact with the airbag, both the airbag and seatbelt apply a force on the dummy. When the dummy starts to move backwards, the dummy is no longer in contact with the airbag, and the seatbelt applies a decreasing magnitude of force as the seatbelt retracts. Finally, when the dummy touches the back of the vehicle seat, the seat applies a force on the dummy that brings the dummy to a final stop. Part 9 of the lesson is about how to optimize the design of safety features. As long as both safety features act on the crash test dummy, the shape of the graphs is similar, but they are stretched out in different directions. In all these scenarios, the peak force on the dummy decreases when seatbelt stiffness or airbag rigidity is lower, and lower peak force results in an increase in the likelihood of survival. Also, the dummy takes longer to first reach 0 miles per hour and move backwards. In part 11, we update the force and motion relationship poster from lesson 6. We rearrange the equation and see that when we reduce the net force acting on the vehicle occupant by designing the optimal seatbelt stiffness and airbag rigidity, the change in momentum occurs over a greater duration of time. Now that we have figured out how seatbelt stiffness and airbag rigidity are optimized to reduce the net force acting on vehicle occupants, we wonder how the body of the vehicles are designed to make a collision safer. Okay, let me share a couple of strategies for this lesson. Before jumping into the simulation on day 2, I suggest providing the 4 graphs that students saw back in day 1 and ask them to match the graphs with what the graphs represent without referring to their handout. This will help you formatively assess students' ability to analyze and interpret force versus time graphs. In part 10 of the lesson, students complete a formative assessment where they analyze and interpret force versus time graphs for collisions where the seatbelt stiffness and airbag rigidity remains the same, but the vehicle's initial velocity changes. In addition to features of graphs like slope, shape, and pattern, I highlight to students that they must also pay attention to the axis. For example, are the scales the same when we compare across the graphs? Students tend to assume that at 45 miles per hour collision scenario, a seatbelt does not act on a crash test dummy because it's hard to see the increasing magnitude of force as the seatbelt extends. However, this is simply because the scale of the y-axis is quite different due to the high net force when the dummy hits the steering wheel in this particular collision scenario. In this lesson, we arranged Newton's second law and encountered these terms: peak force, crash test dummy, and accelerometer all in the reading. We reference the vehicle collision timelines at the beginning of the lesson, and we update the force and motion relationships poster from lesson 6, and we'll be referring back to this poster in lesson 10. Well, this is lesson 9 in a nutshell. Lesson 9 is a lesson heavy on science practices, particularly analyzing and interpreting data, as well as constructing explanations and designing solutions. Students will engage in these practices again in the next couple of lessons. Join us in Lesson 10, where students explore how the body of a vehicle is designed to keep people safe in a collision. Thank you.